Madden Sports. It's Joe Madden of SportsGrid. You catch her at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. She's on there every single day, and nobody breaks hockey down like Joe. Joe, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Tony, it's a pleasure to join you, except I came in hearing you talk smack about my quarterback. Justin Herbert is my quarterback. He is not going anywhere. He hasn't underperformed. The Chargers have done what they do every year. They cannot stay healthy. Look at how many times his key weapons out there were off the field. He's not going anywhere. He's staying a Charger.
See, this is why we have Joe in the program. I love that she just came in hot, man. She gave it right to me like, wait a minute, you just broke. This is my guy, and you're wrong. She told me I'm wrong. You know what it is, Joe? Maybe for me, it's because sometimes, and I think you can relate to this because you're so into the betting community, and you hear us talk all the time, and sometimes we break down so many analytics and statistics that we don't do the eye test sometimes. I just think that maybe because for me, everybody talked about him being like the top 2 or top 3 quarterback in fantasy, and his expectations really didn't get to, up to that standard. Maybe that's why I have a problem with Justin Herbert.
Well, yeah, you can go there. He did miss Keenan Allen in a couple of open field looks at the end of the season there before he went out with injuries. So I do understand your frustration with him, but I also look at him and he needs a better coach. You have to remember he was under Brandon Staley, who absolutely is terrible as a head coach. We were waiting for him to be fired. So I think new things are on the horizon. I definitely think he sticks around.
Do you think that there's some, do you think this is all smoke with Belichick and the Chargers? Do you think this could be like maybe like his fall to grace, so to speak, to where he goes out and he gets another young quarterback and tries to really take this team to the next level? Or do you think there's no way Belichick's going out to LA?
My biggest concern with Belichick coming over with us isn't the fact that I don't think he would want to. It's the fact of, will the Charger ownership pay up? They're going to have to pay out for Bill Belichick, and we know Charger ownership does not like to pay out. That being said, they need a coach like him to be able to come out, get Justin Herbert going, and I do think he would be the right answer. Now, I think Jim Harbaugh, also phenomenal coach to step up and do that as well. Does he stay in Michigan, though? He might stay in Michigan. Ben Johnson, I'm also looking at, the offensive coordinator for the Lions. I do think he'd be a phenomenal head coach there for Justin Herbert, be able to get this offense going. We'll see what happens. I prefer Bill Belichick. Just will they pay for him?
Yeah, that's a good point because they haven't really paid for anybody in the past. So
No, they don't.
it's definitely going to be interesting. Again, live on the Rise and React Media line, it's Joe Madden of SportsGrid. You can follow her at Joe Madden Sports. Make sure you're following her at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. She does a phenomenal job with all things sports betting. She's got the Puckett with Joe every day, NHL. And I said this, Joe, there's not many people out there that can really break down the NHL. So I will give it to you. You do it like no other. You've really found your niche with that. You really have.
Well, thank you. Up here in Canada, hockey's just second nature. So we're watching it anyway. It's fun to break down all these games on the daily. It was a huge slate today. So it's good to see my Calgary Flames able to get things done. We're holding on to that one 6-2. So 9 minutes left. Fingers crossed.
I love it. And my man Joe checking in says Brian Johnson would make a great coach for Justin Herbert. So I think you nailed that one. It's going to be, this is going to be an off season like no other. The amount of coaches that are out there, the legendary coaches that are out there, it just, if you need a coach right now and you're the Charger, this is definitely the time to have an opening, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. You look at Mike Vrabel being let go of the Titans. I'm still blown away by that.
Yep.
I think he was phenomenal. And I know the season didn't go as planned or the last, but it's Mike Vrabel. He is a fantastic coach out there. So whoever gets him, I'm definitely looking for them to have a positive season.
I love Mike Vrabel. I was shocked just like you. And again, there's nothing that that I can look at even more than seeing his reaction in the war room when they traded AJ Brown to my Philadelphia Eagles. Like, he was
Mhm.
just dumbfounded. Like, what on God's earth are you doing? And speaking of the Eagles, I have to ask you before we get into maybe some surprises that you think, but from the outskirts, from an outside voice, you saw the collapse. You see what's going on. What do you like? Are you confident that they could go in and fix everything in Tampa Bay on Monday night?
They absolutely have to. This is do or die for the Philadelphia Eagles here. And you look at this team and all of their struggles they've had as of late. Jalen Hurts has to play this game. And now I know he's questionable with his finger, but I do think he comes out here. This team has been losing. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. This defense is an absolute mess. They've allowed 30 or more points per game in their last 6, but I do think this is the game where they come out and they show us that they're the Philadelphia Eagles. I have no belief here in Baker Mayfield and the Bucs at home. I didn't even think this team would make the playoffs. It's the Eagles all day long. The points are coming, though, in this one because we know Baker, while he has had struggles, he's thrown those interceptions. The defense, I don't expect it to automatically turn back around here for the Eagles. So I think the Eagles can win this. I think they win it by probably a touchdown in this game, but we go over that total.
Listen. I hope that you're right. I do. I'm the Eagles guy, and I'm not sold. So I hope you're right. I just it's been such a very trying is the word I'll say this year. After you go 10-1 and then you can't even finish at the end. It's just so crazy to me. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be about Jalen Hurts, like you said.
Yeah.
Is the finger okay? I can't believe he came out today and said he still hasn't thrown a football yet, which is crazy to me. But we shall see. Now, looking at this weekend, there's a list. This is great weekend of storyline football, right? You have Matt
Yep.
Stafford going back to Detroit. You have the whole Jared Goff thing. You have with the Chiefs. Are they actually going to be able to perform? Is Kelsey actually going to come out and play? Like, what are you looking, this weekend? Are any surprises you think? Looking at, especially just say the Chiefs, can they turn it around offensively?
Ooh, that's a big ask. That game is going to be so nasty with weather, but I do think the Kansas City Chiefs, you look at them in that first half, we know the notorious second half stumbles that they've had throughout the seasons. You can lay the 2.5 in the first half with them. And I do trust Travis Kelce in the playoffs. He has been so strong, 16 touchdowns in 14 playoff games. And we look here at the Miami Dolphins. They're giving up a ton of yards to the tight end position. This game isn't going to play out well for the Dolphins in the cold weather. We know how this team struggles. If there was to be a huge mind-blowing upset, this would be it for me because I don't believe in the Dolphins in the cold weather. I really like what we've seen from Tua over the seasons, but this season it hasn't been good. You're looking at 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 2 interceptions in each of his last 2 games. So with the injuries on defense here, I just don't see them getting past Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So give me KC in the first half, laying the 2.5. But like you said, KC has had their struggles offensively. So I'm not feeling confident laying the 4 or the 4.5 like it's gone up to for the full game. But Travis Kelce to get that touchdown. I'm then also looking at the Green Bay Packers. I love the Packers here. Plus the points with a nice heavy sprinkle on that money line. I actually think this could be the upset in the making, taking down the Dallas Cowboys. I would absolutely love to see it. I wasn't a believer in Jordan Love coming into the season. I really thought he rode the bench under Aaron Rodgers for way too long. He has proved me completely wrong. Looking at him since November, 69% completion rate, 267 yards per game. He is averaging the touchdown to interception ratio sitting at 21-3. I'm going to take him over his passing yards. I got it at 242.5. This number already up to 247.5. I would take it all the way up to 255, 256.5. I think he has a huge day in this one. We know Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are going to get up fast. Dak's going to get those couple of touchdowns on the board. We're going to see Jordan Love playing from behind. He's got to air out that ball. And I do think he's so strong at getting that ball into tight windows that we'll see him nicely go over this number. So Dak in playoffs in his career, 1-5 against that spread. I think the Packers cover. I do think they have every opportunity to win this one here. So sprinkle that money line, you guys.
I love it. Listen, we were both. I'll admit, I'm with you. I did not expect Jordan Love to come out and perform like he has this year. I just didn't. I was with you. And he's shown me some things of flashes of a guy that's fearless, of a guy that's not afraid to take opportunities and shots, and he's been really good. But I love this upset, not because I'm an Eagles fan and I hate the Cowboys, right? but what you say is so true. And then even before that, when you talked about Miami, I'm with you. I am not sold on the Miami Dolphins. I'm just not. And you know, if you ask me if any team has the opportunity to go back and reform to its previous self, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. And I just think that, like you said, on the road, in that it is going to be brutally cold out there. They're not going to want to play out there. We know that. They lose one of their leaders in Bradley Chubb. Like, there's a lot of things going on in that team, and I'm not a Mike McDaniel guy either. So we shall see. So fantastic breakdown of that. Let me ask you about the Detroit and the LA game, because there's so many people that feel like this is McVay's time. You know, they've won 7 out of 8, and there's no reason to believe they're not going to go in there and win that game and make some noise in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, and they absolutely could. My concern here is in your first statement, you said everyone is saying, and that's what I'm hearing too. Everyone is riding with the Rams. They're the trendy underdog of the weekend. And I don't love being on the side of the public. Vegas is around for a reason. But I do think the public's right in this situation. I love what we've seen out of this Rams team. I think if you're going to take them, they either win this or they don't. Like, it's not even close out there, because you look here at the Detroit Lions. I really like what we have seen in glimpses of their defense. Aiden Hutchinson is so strong. Now, will he be able to break through that offensive line and get to Matt Stafford, cause that pressure and cause Matt Stafford to throw those interceptions? He could. They're going to have to put that pressure on him. And now looking at Aaron Darnold, we know he's going to do his best to try to get to Jared Goff here. I think the offensive line will be able to give Jared Goff enough time to go over the 1.5 passing touchdowns. When you look at the head coach situation, Dan Campbell versus Sean McVay, I do have more faith in Sean McVay, but I do think the Lions defense will slow down the run game. So Kyron Williams here, I know he's been putting up some fantastic numbers. I'm just not buying into it in this one. I do think we'll see a heavier passing game out of Matt Stafford to Cooper Kupp and Puka in this game, rather than turning here to Kyron Williams. So it's hard to go with the public, but I gotta go the Rams plus the points. I think, though, you just take them straight up on the money line. I don't see it being close if the Rams or if the Lions win this. I think it's, the Lions either win it by 5 or the Rams come out and win this just on that money line by like 1 or 2. I think it really comes down to whichever quarterback has the ball last in their hands. I'm going to take the over in this game as well.
I like that call. I do. I like that last statement. Whatever quarterback has that ball in his hands, and I look at it going 2 for 2 here, and I'm saying I look at McVay and Stafford, and I look at Campbell and Goff. I'm not a Goff guy. I'm not a Dan Campbell guy. And if the game's on the line and it's situational football, I'm going to take McVay and Stafford any day of the week over those two. So it delays claim to the statement, like you said, whoever has the ball last. So we shall see. One more game, and again, live on the Rise and Rec Media line. This is Joe Madden. Make sure you follow at Joe Madden Sports, at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Does a fantastic job, and you just hear it. You hear the stats that she's spitting off, and the numbers and the trends. It's wonderful. Let me ask you this last thing, Joe. Is the storybook fairy tale of Joe Flacco and Kevin Stefanski magic? Is it going to end, or is it going to keep riding past this weekend?
Oh man, personally, I really would love to see Joe Flacco get a pass this weekend. It's a phenomenal storybook story here. I can't believe how strong he's been. So 4-1 as a starter for the Cleveland Browns, 13 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, though. So that number is kind of worrisome. But the Houston Texans aren't a team that I'm really too worried about their defense. Now, this team, when they hold opponents to under 20 points, is phenomenally strong. So we could see the defense do enough in this one to really limit Joe Flacco. I don't think they limit him in his passing yards, though. I'm taking him over the 275.5 passing yards. Maybe those passing touchdowns don't come in this one, but I do look at the Browns defense, and with Myles Garrett, it's so phenomenally strong. CJ Stroud is the best rookie I think I've seen in forever. Looking at him, how he's been playing this season, I want to take the Houston Texans plus the points because I do think this is tighter than the number. Now, I wanted 3. It is 2.5. I'm going to wait till game day, hoping a 3 comes out. If the 3 comes out, I'm going to hit it. If it doesn't, I'm going to grab plus the 2.5 because I do think even without Tank Dell, and I wish he was in here for CJ Stroud, he's just a different quarterback than we've seen out of a rookie for so long. And I think he's going to be so phenomenally strong. I know he doesn't have the playoff experience. I know Joe Flacco does. I want to see Joe Flacco get the win, but I'm telling you something about CJ Stroud, that his ability in that fourth quarter to handle the pressure. We saw him in that one game come back, and it was like 47 seconds or something left in that game, ride down all the way down the field and win that. That's something different. And I think this kid has it. He's going to be, could he be the next Patrick Mahomes? He absolutely could. I feel this kid is something special. He hasn't been turning that ball over. He hasn't been giving it away. Only 14 times he's turned this ball over this season, the last 5 games. No turnovers. So against this defense of the Browns, it's going to be so hard because you even look at Myles Garrett to get an anytime sack. It's almost 3-1 to your money. So there's something about Houston in this situation. I know all the stats with a rookie coming out against a number 1 defense. It's not pretty. 0-3 straight up in the playoffs. But CJ Stroud, I think he breaks those kind of trends. So give me Houston plus the points. I really hope Joe Flacco gets to move on, though.
Yeah, listen, I'm torn too. For everything you said, like I like Joe. He's a great dude. I love the storybook, but man, this kid, CJ Stroud, is just something special, man. Like, it's so hard just to understand and the speed of the game when you're a rookie, but to be able to face adversity, to be able to sit there and in these game situations, 2-minute drills, like you said, 47 seconds. He's just. He feels like he's untouched. Nothing. He's unwavered. Nothing bothers him, and I think that's very, very special. Joe, I have to say this, and I'm going to say this, and you don't have to have any response. I said this before you came on, and I'm going to say this. It's a little random mind, but I hope that many people listen to this because I can tell you something right now. I see some of the hate that you get, and I love that you put that stuff out there. I know you're not that way, but it deserves to be. And I've talked about this last night, that people have to understand that, this is the year. I love the women in sports rise. I love it that I have a daughter. She's 23 and I want to have her opportunities. And I hate that people, look at you differently. And I hate that, they have to question, why is she popular? Why is she getting here? You just spit off so many statistical trends that I haven't heard in the last month. You did it in 12 minutes. Okay. So for anybody listening, that's just not luck. Okay. Joe knows what she's talking about, and you got to stop disrespecting Joe and everybody else out there that just wants a spot in this space. So sorry, Joe, you don't have to respond to that. I had to say it because it just bothers me so much.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And you know what the funniest comment is? That I do this
What's
all
that?
to get a date. I do it all to get a date. Well, if I'm working this hard to get a date, man, I'm doing something completely wrong because I still don't have one. So I don't know, you guys.
Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, that's the thing that kills me sometimes. Like, are you serious? Like, they live in a dream world, Joe. That's all I can say, man. They live in a dream
Yeah.
world, but you handle it extremely well. You handle it with class. I love it. I really appreciate you coming on. I love that from where you started with the coffee with Joe and where you're at now, you just keep going and going and going. And it's great to see your success and see you rise. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I can't wait to get you back on one day. And I hope all these trends come to fruition this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best in the wild card weekend. Playoffs are going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see who wins the Super Bowl. I'm
It's gonna be
sitting there.
fun.
I really do think it's 49ers Ravens, but we'll see what
Oh,
happens.
I do like that. I like the Ravens a lot. I
Oh,
like
I
the
love
Ravens a
the
lot.
Ravens. How can you not with Lamar? I
Mm,
still wish this was the defense back in the Ray Lewis era of that team, but that's the
I
last
know.
Super Bowl they won. That was such a heartwarming win for him.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a big Harbaugh guy. I think Harbaugh is one of the best coaches that nobody talks about. And, as well as I do, this offseason, I've talked about it before, going through contract negotiations, and Lamar's his own agent. He doesn't have a representative. So to be able to sit in those rooms and to hear those coaches talk to him about possibly some of the limitations they had, and those two to still be able to work it out and work through that adversity, it speaks volumes to both of their character. It really does.
Oh, it absolutely does. So I'd love to see them get all the way. We'll see. If they can get past the 49ers in that final game, that's really what I think it's going to come down to. So
We shall
best of
see.
luck, everyone. And Tony, thank you.
Yes.
It was an absolute pleasure. I will come on anytime. It was so much fun
Love it.
talking with you today.
Love it, Joe. I really appreciate it. You have a great weekend. And like you always say, go make some freaking money, right?
Yeah, let's make some freaking money. Thanks, Tony.
Have a good night, Joe.
Thanks.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Again, Joe Madden at Joe Madden Sports. Make sure you're following her. Rich, you said it right there. Just listening to Joe, top knowledge. You can tell she knows her stuff. I'm being honest. Like, I don't put people on the spot like that, but it just has to be said because I see it every day. I do. I see it every day. It's ridiculous. I mean, again, there's no script there. Joe just broke down everything. Everything. She gave you trends. She gave you why she's waiting for money. Listen. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Like, I love doing this, and I'm so glad I decided to do this just so I